My name's Amy. I've been living in Malawi for not quite a year now, volunteering at Ebenezer Institute of Learning for most of my time here. So I came on a short-term mission trip with Y-Malawi through my church in July of 2016, and when I got home I just couldn't stop thinking about Malawi, and so I spent the next 6 months or so just almost every day having thoughts about it. And by December I was really at a point in my life where I was feeling pretty discontent and not knowing what the Lord had for me next, and really seeking that out. And so I was talking to my pastor one afternoon and just telling her like my feelings and where I was, and she encouraged me to look into taking some time off of my job, because as a teacher sometimes you have that option available. And so I started to look into it, and I found out that there were leave of absences available for 1 year that could potentially come with pay, because my initial thoughts with taking a year off was how can I possibly afford that. But then with Malawi I thought, well, I could probably afford that. And so I looked into it and I started to pray about it, and I got confirmation from the Lord that it was what I was supposed to be doing, so I continued to look into it. But even with that confirmation, I really had this strong sense of anxiety, and so I wanted to continue to pray about it. And I had 3 very specific things I was praying about, and that was that I wanted, again, some more confirmation that it was His plan and not something I was kind of making up on my own. I wanted some relief, or I wanted relief in general from the anxiety that I was feeling. And then I wanted to understand how His plan was going to match up with my plan, because I had very specific things I wanted for my life, and I didn't see how leaving for a year was going to help that in any way. So as I was praying, I felt led to read John chapter 16, and through that chapter all 3 of those prayer requests were very clearly answered. And so the first thing it talks about is that the Holy Spirit will speak of things to come. And so for me that was reconfirmation, because I know I had already heard from the Holy Spirit that I was supposed to do this. And then the second thing was that your sorrow will be turned into joy. And so for me that totally relieved the anxiety that I was feeling. And then the last thing was that whatever you ask in the Father's name He will give you. Until now you've asked nothing in my name. And for me that was kind of a light bulb moment, because I realized the plans that I had for my life was that I wanted to be married and have kids, and I realized that I wasn't seeking those things out to serve the Lord with them. I was seeking them out to feel fulfillment in myself. And so it was just this kind of invitation to let that go and to find fulfillment through the Lord. And so through that prayer time I really did feel like I got all of my prayers answered, and that was kind of the green light to go ahead and go. And then even just throughout the rest of the time planning it, there was just so many green lights from the Lord. So that's how I found myself here in Malawi for a year. So my main task here has been teaching physical education, reading, and working in the library at Ebenezer. The first 2 weeks I actually led a trip from my church. For the first 2 weeks I was in charge of, co-led the trip with 10 other people, which was an amazing experience. We did kind of like the typical things. We were with World Vision, World Relief, Chiefs Ministry, all of the partners. We got to experience all of that great stuff. And then for the next couple weeks I stayed in Lilongwe with FTS and went on a children's outreach with them, did some social media work with them. And then I came to Nkoma at the end of August and started working at Ebenezer. And it's been an absolutely amazing experience. We live right next to a boys' school, which you can hear in the background, I'm sure. But yeah, so also I've done some other work with the youth ministry while I've been here. We've done some village outreach trips. I've helped with Young Life, did some volunteering at a vocational center for people with disabilities. I helped in the physical therapy room, and that was absolutely amazing. Yeah, so it's been a really great experience just reaching out in lots of different ways. So I think that one of the biggest things I've learned is that dependence is not weakness. And what I mean by that is before I came, I lived on my own, I paid my own bills, I took care of myself. Like, I didn't really depend on anyone else, and I think in lots of situations that includes God. I really took care of myself, and God was there and present, and I was aware of Him, but I don't think I really leaned on Him as much as I could have or should have. And I think that's what I've learned here, is that being dependent on God and even really like other people that God has placed in my life is not weakness. It's just who He's placed in my life to support me, and that those are gifts and they're not a sign of weakness. The other thing that has been really, that kind of goes hand in hand with that is that just how faithful God is. Like in every situation where I've needed something, or even just simple little things like I've had a rough day, I can turn to God and He's faithful in every single situation and He doesn't fail, and that's just been reinforced time and time again. I mean, even in the preparation for coming here, He proved that over and over again, but it hasn't stopped being here. He's just continued to be faithful. And then again, I think all three of these things go together, is the importance of community, because living in Nkoma, like everybody really supports each other so much here, and you can, when you need something, you can reach out and someone will have what you need and take care of you and support you, and it's really, nothing's too big or too little. Like everybody's available, and that goes in both directions. Like we've also been able to lend a hand and support people, so the importance of community has really been reinforced to me here. So if you're at all considering coming, I would say absolutely come, because Malawi has the nickname of the warm heart of Africa, and that's absolutely well earned. The people here are absolutely amazing. I mean, this year didn't come without its challenges and its struggles, and of course I think that's normal for living anywhere you're not used to, but people are so supportive, so caring, and I think that like people, I think for me anyway, when I go to another country, I worry about like, will I understand it, people there, will I fit in? And for me, in any travels I've done with ministry, is that what I've learned is how big and how small God's kingdom is, right? So God's kingdom is everywhere. It reaches every corner of the globe. It's huge and it's amazing, but it's also teeny tiny. Like you get there and you have this connection with people, and they're there for you and they support you, whether you speak the same language, whether you understand each other. They're there to support you because you have what ties us all together, and that's God. And so I would say don't be afraid to venture out, and don't be afraid of being challenged, because you will be challenged and it will be amazing, and just be willing to like experience that, because it's absolutely amazing. I'm just so grateful that I've had this opportunity, and I would encourage anyone who is even remotely considering it to absolutely go for it.